and Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 155 with Andrea. What have you been reading? I have been reading The Widow's Guide to Dead Bastards by Jessica Waite. I just started it, but I'm enjoying it. It's a memoir about her husband's death. So maybe enjoy it isn't quite the right word, but it is about her husband's death and all of the secrets, which sadly does happen when people die sometimes, especially surprise death, which his is. So Andrea, hey, it's working this time. Yay!
Let me, wait.
It's working. You just have to turn.
I do. I have to turn it this way. Okay, this is going to be awkward. I'm so sorry. I don't know
It's
even
okay. You don't need to apologize.
how
It's
I got on.
always,
Yeah,
well,
okay.
you did it.
Fresh start.
Yeah, you did it, and it's a funny thing. I've done many of these, obviously,
Yeah,
and oftentimes there are bumps. So
okay.
we
Well,
did it.
thanks for your patience. And
Sure.
I have to hold the phone. I had it all beautiful. I did a test run. I got that.
Yeah, I have a stand, obviously, and because it's easier. And I do it often enough that it's worth it for me. But yes, most people end up holding their phones, which
Okay,
can be a little tricky when you're reading
all right, good.
at the
Well,
same
I got
time.
the phone right here, so
You printed it out. That's good.
I did because I knew that I was not going to be have to phone. I'm not that good.
So how are you today? You're in Southern California. You're in sunny Southern California
I'm
like me.
Oxnard, yeah, strawberry capital of the world.
Hmm.
Which, but
I know because my mother used to live there, so we visited all the time. So it's a beautiful place.
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
paradise, really.
yeah,
Or
hmm
sun,
it is.
yeah.
Um,
Fog is
so,
my favorite. That marine layer.
yep,
It's like a warm blanket, a wool blanket. Yeah, it's lovely.
yeah. Um, do you want to read your poem, or do you
Sure.
want to? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Where I'm from. I'm from a neighborhood where streets aligned like the lines on pages from a book, a spine named Isis, from hefty bag curtains and real kill rat trap corners. Maybe the wrong side of everything, but the best tries of a DIY single mother in her fissured asphalt fixer upper, worn velvet, frayed wires, and what nicotine pungency. I am sweet pea from guava trees, and those arrow straight birds of paradise pointing the hopeful upwards path. I'm from Christmas cracker paper hats and running continents afar, from Lamoureux and Ferrell. I'm from frenzied fists and stiff spined silences, from being seen, not heard, and God did that to you. I'm from black laced Catholics, now atheists, though I suspect they're lying. I'm from a long line of sun-loving Californians, trifle and Waterford crystal and snappy backyard beans. From the guy who taught me to beat a polygraph, from the lady who insisted the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, their dusty files of clippings on our native and immigrant tribes. They who wished to right this mighty world, but too often found themselves subjected to its ink. Did my phone go up like that?
You
Yay!
did it though. Oh, well, that was beautiful. And what a wonderful description of birds of paradise, um, which I also grew up with lots of those because I lived here as a child. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of overlap for me with different things that I remember. So that's always fun. And so did you grow up here?
I did. Yeah, I was born and raised here. Yeah,
Yeah.
born. Mm-hmm.
And Waterford Crystal. It's funny. That's a thing I think of the past. I don't know if people care so much about Crystal anymore, but
No.
I remember coveting it.
Mm-hmm. It was very special. My mom's,
Hmm.
I think Waterford's Irish, but very special to her. Her
Yeah.
Waterford wine glasses and champagne and
I
uh,
think it was a symbol of solvency.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it was poisoning us if we had used it every day. So it's good that it was special because it's lead crystal, right?
Never thought about that, but I think you're right.
Yeah. So it was good that we used it like, because you couldn't put it in the dishwasher, obviously. So we used it like whatever, twice a year, 3 times a year. I mean, rarely.
Or broke it because, we can't afford to buy
Oh
more.
no.
So this our Waterford crystal will always be ours. We'll pass it down, and we better not break it or you'll have nothing. Right.
Right, right. And now it's like I don't want it.
Nobody wants to buy it. You try to sell it on the marketplace. No.
And like, where do you put it? It's just so funny how, I mean, we had a special place for it. I don't know if you did, but it's like that's where it go,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that kind of space
My mom,
or desire to showcase glasses.
yeah, she would showcase her pattern of china that she noticed that
Mm,
Fergie also had. The princess of the
do.
same pattern. So my mom would display that. And those are my Fergie dishes. But we just don't care about that anymore. My kids don't care. I'm not going to pass that on to my kids.
No, no, it's gone. I
It's
mean,
gone.
it's gone. Yeah, at some point I said I didn't care, and so I don't remember where it went, but it's my parents divorced when I was young too, so I think that also like it doesn't symbolize this. I think for people who it symbolizes something really powerful, that's
Yeah.
different. For me, it just is like stuff. Um, so, so what was the experience of writing this poem like for you?
It was fun. It was like a Mad Lib. I love when things are corseted like that when I have
Yeah.
a structure. And then to break it, I like that too. But it was surprising because I just finished a memoir and we're peddling it now.
Mhm.
So when writing the memoir, it was wrenching. It was hard. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go over. But when I wrote the poem, I'm like, oh, I know this. I know exactly where I'm from. I've done this. I've done this in 400 pages. I whittled this down to 200. I can do this. So it was fun, and it was interesting to see that there was no like emotion involved. It was just trying to find maybe pretty words or pretty images, play with the sounds more than the emotion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I had somebody who I, keep wanting to have join me, which I have people in my life where I'm like, come and they'll make a date and then we'll reschedule or whatever. And she finally just said to me, I can't do it because I have to think too much about something that I don't really want to think about. And honest, I mean, I appreciated her honesty and was like, of course, please, you don't have to do this. I only kept asking you because I love you and I want to hear what you have to say.
That sounds smart of
Yeah,
her. Like right,
yeah.
or
But I think it took her kind of coming up to it like a few times to realize, oh, this isn't that I'm busy. This isn't that. It's
oh, my
like, no. Yeah.
juices. It's not. Oh,
Yeah. No, this is a no.
yeah.
And I think, when you've written a memoir or you've written essays or you've talked about this stuff at length, I think you can have the experience you had. But then for other people, it's like, no. And it's funny because I think some people can just write something pleasing, but then other people feel sort of pressure to be like, oh, I have to go in there, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ready. So that's also, I think, sort of what's interesting about this format is you can just write a Mad Lib.
Right.
Like you don't have to go there if you don't want to.
And what did they say? It takes 6 years, or somebody, one of my mentor teachers said 6 years of time needs to pass before you can write about
Mm,
something. 6 years
that's
is a long
interesting.
time, but I kind of feel that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what I write about is like decades old, so I'm always interested to read people who are talking about things that are more fresh. And when I do it, it always feels like, okay, I'm definitely treat it with more care because it's newer and I haven't had the same amount of time to unpack it.
Pack it, process it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And to talk about it, like you were saying, talk about it and write about it, which sort of takes the sting out, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
That emotion.
yeah, and I think also wanting to, see it with, I mean, objectivity isn't a thing, but to try to not be in it as much, writing from the scar rather than the wound.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
um, so did you find yourself using a lot of the same material? Like, did you surprise yourself at all, or was it like, oh yeah, this
No, I don't think anything was surprising except just the lack of hurt.
emotion?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're really poor. and that really embarrassed me, bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
We happened to go to the richest high school that you can imagine, but we were, so it's like a high school age wound, that I'm picking at
Mm-hmm.
and go, um, and good stuff and joyful stuff, but to read, oh yeah, we were really poor. Oh yeah, we did have hefty bag curtains. Oh well, like kind of,
Mm-hmm.
which took me a long to get there. So
Well, there was a lot of, I mean, obviously there are still a lot of people in the world who feel this way, but I feel like when we were growing up, there was a lot more of like, well, if you're poor, it's because of some kind of moral failing.
yeah, it was embarrassing.
Yeah, as opposed to like, oh, the system's broken and people don't have the support they need. And, people shouldn't be living in poverty.
And my mom was a single mom, and my
Yeah.
dad's, and he didn't pay child support. Like, you don't do that. You can't just blow off your wife and kids and not financially. Like, that's abuse. That's illegal. It is. It should be enforced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people weren't having those conversations. Like it was, I feel like it was much more like whatever's happening to you is your fault.
Yeah.
Um,
Shouldn't
so
have.
I think this shame,
You should have been a better wife. Or
right, as if.
right.
uh, yeah, and so much more shame. And I was just having this conversation with about banned books, about why do they ban books? Because it's obviously certain kinds of books that keep getting banned, and
Mm-hmm.
I was positing like I think they want people to be ashamed who were queer or people of color, or like they don't want them to be able to see themselves. And I felt like that when we were kids, like the amount of representation we had was like
Really small.
so
Yeah.
tiny. And I don't know that anybody fell into the boundaries, honestly, like fully, because they were fake. And so all
Because
of us were left like, oh God, I'm defective.
yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
When I got my own divorce, I kept it kind of
mm.
quiet. Still had that thought like, oh, it's me that's failed or whatever. And everybody's in happy marriages.
As I Yeah, and also, I mean, for me, I'm always tempted when someone gets divorced to like congratulate them, but I never want to be like,
Yeah.
if they're brokenhearted, I don't want to
Right.
do that.
Should I congratulate you? Because are you free now?
Yeah,
Like, can you
yeah,
take off your shoes and dance?
yeah, right. This thing you've been grappling with, you've finally done it. Like because everyone I know who's ever gotten divorced, it took a long time to get there.
Right.
Um,
For sure.
yeah, and when it's done, you're like, oh my God.
It's a big
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Yeah.
thing. And when you have kids, it's 7 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that you've still felt that way, even later, you know.
Well, I think because our marriage was in a really conservative, family-oriented
Mhm.
place. We were married and raised our kids in Santa Clarita,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just such a great place to raise a family. So great for kids. My kids, for example, their baseball coach was their math teacher's husband, and it was such a great community,
Mm-hmm.
and they all did happily married. And then here's
Mm-hmm.
me, being divorced, me and my. So yeah,
And some of them are happily married,
yeah,
Andrea, but some of them aren't,
and some of them aren't.
you know.
And some
And
cycles, right, where they are and then they aren't, and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
everybody's so different.
Because I joke about with my divorced friends, that people always want to know like the story, like, well, what happened? Because they want to like make sure they shouldn't get divorced, like as if they don't know or something. You're just like, well, you'll know. Like if you need to get divorced, you will know. It won't be something like, I don't know. It's like they're afraid some sickness they're afraid of catching, It's like, no, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work like that. Um, but I think I'm happy to hear that you didn't feel the same hurt
Yeah,
revisiting the material like that. I think that speaks to the power of writing our stories, which is sort of what the whole point of this is in a lot of ways.
yeah,
So,
really. Yeah, and I have a conscious effort on my next book or my next project because I do tend to go kind of dark.
me
So
too. Yeah.
look for the light,
Yeah.
look for something funny. Um, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I'm kind of focusing on.
I think that is also often time like, when we have some time space from it, we're able to see some of that. I don't, it's like layers or something. I think the content lots of times that I write about is dark, and I do try to have some of that, of the person that I was then, not just like, because especially when you're writing about a kid, she doesn't know, she is, I was looking at the ocean and being thrilled to be there and get in, and like there is this wonder. um and I try to remember that. That's why I think I got on your birds of paradise description, because I those are so many of my most clear memories from childhood, is like the flowers, the ocean, the dogs.
Mm-hmm. The playing in the park, sports. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're up there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm grateful for all of those memories, and I think that I remember them that way. It shows how, because we know what we remember is significant to us.
Mm-hmm.
Even though and that's and that is a big part of the reason I love this prompt and this whole series, is because what people remember of their childhood, I'm like fascinated by it. And people have told me that this prompt helps them remember new things, which I think is cool, because I think many of us, my brother died when I was 10, so
Oh,
I'm very involved in the sibling loss community, and we're working on an anthology. And so I know a lot of sibling loss survivors now, and
wow.
many of them, particularly ones like me who lost a sibling early in life, want more of those memories, because lots of times we've just buried it. And I like this prompt because sometimes you remember new
Mm.
things. Like they're
Yeah.
just there beyond the surface, and you're able to like tap into them.
Yeah. And it almost, your memories are finite when a person's gone.
Yeah.
At a certain
Yep.
time,
There are no new
yeah,
ones.
you got to dig. I don't know. You got to dig through old. My mom just passed away recently, so we've
Oh,
gone through all of
sorry.
her things, and wow, that brought up a lot of memories
Yeah.
because I thought I had my memory of my mom, but now I see there was so much. I would see a picture of her when she was, for example, 14 that I've never seen before, and that opens up a flood of of interacting with her when I was 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Funny how that. It's funny how
I
how
do.
when your kids are
Yeah.
little and they're 4 or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have a flood of memories of when you were 4 or when you were 6 or when you were in 3rd grade. It was
Mm-hmm.
like that going through my mom's stuff. So I had
That's really cool.
a lot, yeah. But it opened up all those
Mm-hmm.
memories I forgot I had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been really
Yeah.
wild.
I mean, I think I'm always like excited when, I mean, sometimes they're sad, obviously, but lots of times, even those I'm grateful for, because
Sure.
they help me have context. And
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of what I've talked about it before, but a lot of what happened with my kids was I was like, oh, 7. That's what 7 is supposed to be like. Like you're a child. Oh, because I felt, 30. So for me, it's like, oh,
Oh, because of the loss, you mean?
because of just how like chaotic my life was as a young person, so it was like I just felt like I was managing so much. And I was, so when I like when they were little, I was like, oh, because to me, I didn't really understand what 8 was like, or 10 was like. To me, it was truly like, oh, I'm 15, I'm 18, I'm 22, I'm, so um that was like very eye-opening for me.
Mm-hmm. And then you probably try to make, you're, I don't know, so much more of a conscious parent, right? Like, like I didn't get to do this when I was 7 because I was dealing with this. So I'm going to make sure 7, I'm very aware of what you're dealing with, right? What your kids are dealing with, and make it not perfect, but as perfect as we can.
Well, and I think also, just, yeah, being there and just listening,
Yeah.
and like, not trying to, um, because other than my mom, pretty much everyone in my family was kind of like, oh, get over it, whatever it was,
Oh,
so, try not to do that.
no, you don't want to,
Yeah, try not to trivialize their lives,
for sure. Because it's
which I
big.
think was
It,
very much the culture,
yeah.
right? Like you said, children are to be seen and not heard. And I remember, I had a lot of not my Well, I think my dad would have liked that, but it did never happen for him. I was just too not that way. But like my extended family, there was certainly a big group of them that was their motto, you know, and you'd see them and you'd be like, so why am I here?
Do they
Like,
put like a different dinner table and everything?
for sure.
Oh, wow.
But also it was just like, okay, just like go away, you know, like I'm just not interested in this, you know. It's, I mean, I think it's remnants of children were like what for labor to like carry on the family line. I mean, they were not for company.
No. Yeah.
They were not to hang out and talk with.
And I think too, with our moms being divorced, at least my mom in the early 70s and mid 70s, I mean, she only got the right to buy her own house
I know.
a few years, and she only got the right to have her own credit cards within a few years. And so, thank God, because I don't know what would have happened because my dad split with, leaving her with two little ones and no child support. I don't know what she would have done, you
I know.
know.
Isn't it surreal? Like what a different um, landscape it was, and how many people, certain types of people, want it to be like that again. You're like, not me.
Yeah, not a whole lot of women though. I don't know.
No, but I think there are some that are in relationships who are just
Yeah, happy with
or
that trad role.
just kind of don't feel like they have choices. I mean, to me, that's the thing that's sort of stunning is like, I mean, when you're in it, which I think goes back to me talking about why I'm interested in childhood. It's like when you're in it, you think this is it. This is
Mm-hmm.
how everyone lives. And this is the best way to live because you're surviving. And I think that's how a lot of them are. I mean, I guess not all of them, but some of them. I mean, they're just like, I don't know, programmed. They need to get deprogrammed. Um,
Let's just want Kamala. Just give us Kamala. No,
yeah. I mean,
kids help us out.
yeah.
Help us some. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that long
Things that-
ago. And for me it always seems very possible. Like, oh, we could be, you know, once you start taking away people's rights, it's easy to just take away more. Once you start dehumanizing a group of people, um, which I mean, certain people they want to just dehumanize everyone. Kind of goes back to what I was talking about, where there was such a small slice of what was acceptable and what was normal,
Mhm.
and the rest of us were ashamed.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I don't want to go back. I like living in a world where choices are possible.
Yeah. And we're
Um,
women places. What you're doing here is fantastic because
thanks.
you're you're inviting any everyone,
Yeah.
not just male, perhaps
Yes.
heterosexual. Yeah.
Everyone is welcome. Yes. So if you're watching this and you want to join me, DM me and I'll send you the
Yeah.
prompts.
It
Um,
was
any
fun.
other good? Yes, it was fun. Any other last thoughts, Andrea, before we close?
No, it was just that, I guess, was thank you for adding more voices. When
Yeah.
I want to read a poem, I mean, I just love my poetry. It's just a blast, right?
Yeah.
Poetry
Yeah.
is,
And it's for everyone, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people say,
Well, thank you.
but I like that you have.
I
I
know. I know.
don't
People say that. I said it. I still say it sometimes, but it's like, yeah, Georgella is very generous and she's like, you know, we're all poets. So she thinks that.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Andrea, and thank you to everyone who joined us and have a lovely day.
Enjoy
Bye.
the sun. Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.